fresher team today. And really, let's be honest, we're playing Hull, who are bottom of the table. For me, you should be beating teams like that. They had a few better chances than us today, but we should be beating teams like Hull if we want to be in these playoff positions. Remember, they are bottom of the table. They haven't won in I don't know how many games. But again, against Watford, they get these teams that are on a bad run tend to get something against us, and it showed again today. I don't know whether that's down to attitude. Maybe they thought they could just turn up today and get a winning hole. But it was we got a point out of it. We'll take that. But it wasn't a great performance, and it was quite boring from us, to be honest. I don't know. It was just a weird, lethargic, boring performance from Watford. And away from home, fresher team should have maybe had a bit more of a go today, because I think Hull could have been there for the taking if we wanted it more.
Yep, agreed with you there, Sahil. We just didn't have enough imagination out there tonight. I think that's one of the big problems for us. We looked very lethargic. We were not proactive enough. We did not push into the spaces on the pitch that we should have. We played rather narrow for much of that game. The midfield didn't have enough in it. And yeah, we didn't show the kind of movement and application you need in these away games. We have to put our stamp on these games, and we have to move the ball faster. That's the bottom line here, Sahil. Disappointment. A new manager bounce always seems to happen just in time for the Golden Boys to come in. And that's the first, by the way, the first game we played in a kit other than yellow this season where we haven't lost. Sahil, thank you very much for your comments as always. Much appreciated there from Sahil. Anyone else who would like to chime in on Orns post-match on X, please do not hesitate to do so. Hit that request button, and we'll hear from you after Hull City 1, Watford 1. Hull actually took the lead in this game after, 85 minutes or so, 83 minutes, whenever it was, and it looked as if it was going to be one of them kind of days for Watford. But Watford, at least on this occasion, coming back from behind on the road, that's something that we haven't done a whole lot this season, but we showed some character. Rocco Vata getting his first goal in Watford, a Watford shirt. That was good. Quadro Bar with the assist, as Sahil mentioned. And now we're going to go over to David here on X for the Orns post-match. We're also, by the way, on YouTube. So anyone on YouTube, you're welcome to bring your comments to the table as well. Thank you very much, David. You're next on Orns post-match on X. Hello, David.
Hi, Omar. Another relief for a point, I think, after we spoke against QPR. I agree with Sahil's comments as well. I thought the first half we were pretty, we seemed pretty in control with possession, but when you look back at the half, we didn't really create anything. And we've had a few of these games where it's quite slow and there's not a lot of intensity, and I just don't think it suits us at all. Somehow you want us to come out in the second half and play with a little bit more fire up front, maybe hit a few more direct balls. But yeah, we just seemed to get worse and worse as time went on. Massively relieved that we didn't lose to that goal. So I think it was a clear handball as well. So that's a huge relief. And I guess we've managed to come out of the game with something which is brilliant. But yeah, the performances have been shocking. Great for Bar to make another good contribution. And hopefully this is a big moment for Batter as well, who's looked pretty bright in his Watford career so far.
Yeah, I share those sentiments, David. I think that Bar was great bright tonight when he was on, and also Rocco Vata. Yeah, I think that this could be the start of some good things for him. He came on just after the 63rd minute, and I have, among other Watford fans out there, have called for Rocco Vata to be a part of these proceedings a bit more often, a bit more earlier in these games. And I think Cleves is beginning to incorporate Vata in there as such. And you saw the result of that tonight, David. A good strike, good instincts. I think Vata's got good instincts on the ball. He likes to run at defenders. He's not afraid to get into areas of the pitch that make the opposition uncomfortable. And he's got a fearlessness about him that Quadro Bar also has. And so it was fitting tonight that those two linked up to create the goal. Bar with his run and his assist, and then Vato with the finish, which we really lacked finishing quality tonight. But that was clinical from us on the road. Late showed us some really good character, I thought, considering everything. Late in a game like that, we might have hung our heads and resigned ourselves to a defeat away from home. But we did not resign. And I think that's the one thing, David, that you can take out of this game, apart from some, I think, otherwise decent defending. And I agree with you, David. That was clearly a handball from Hull. That's the hand of God situation. And there's no question that ball should not have, listen, that goal should have been disallowed. End of story. So, look, I think we can take a couple of positives out of this. Certainly, I think the resilience, the character, we didn't play well, but we did show some spark once Hull went in front. David, any more comments from you about the game tonight?
I think you're right. I think it has to be seen as a positive result in the end. I think the first half, it showed how lackluster Hull were. So even though they've got this new manager coming in, it does feel like a missed opportunity at the same time. We're just not playing well. That's as simple as that in the last few games at least. So to get another result is obviously a big positive, and there are positives. I thought Porteous in particular was brilliant tonight, so that's always got to be seen as a good thing given his struggles in his Watford career. I thought he was excellent. Loser again, I thought was probably one of our better players and had a really good go at it. There are definitely some positives, but we're going to have to pick up our performances if we're going to look towards the top half of the table this season, that's for sure.
Absolutely, David. Thank you very much. As always, take care.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. That was David there, and I do appreciate the comments that he made for sure. As David made those comments there about Watford. David, I'm sorry, I accidentally removed you. Oh dear. So my mistake there, David, completely by accident hit the wrong button there and removed you from the space. I hope you can get back in. But David, thank you very much for your comments. I mean, I think that what David says there is absolutely spot on. The defending was very good tonight. I mean, again, as I was alluding to shortly before David spoke, that was clearly a handball. It was a hand of God situation. We know that. Hull should not have been awarded the goal there for sure. That would have been ruled out had there been VAR, or had there been VAR people who used their eyeballs. They would have absolutely ruled that out for handball, no question about it. But the bottom line is that our character was something that you could give us positive marks for tonight, because we did do very well in that department after we went one behind. I think the problem for us tonight, if you want to look at the game overall, we played as if we were playing not to lose the game. We played very cautiously tonight, I thought, away from home against the bottom side. We were really kind of waiting for things to happen in this scenario tonight, and we cannot play that way. We've played that way a lot this season, home and away, as if we've been waiting for something to happen rather than making something happen. And I think that's been one of our biggest issues this season thus far. And I think that if we show a bit more imagination, a bit more confidence and a belief in ourselves, I think we could certainly change the equation. But unfortunately, on this go round, we did not get all 3 points. Look, it's now 5 unbeaten now for us. I think you can take that as a positive. And also the first time this season that we've played in a kit other than yellow and not lost. So I guess you can take a positive from that as well. And if I'm not mistaken, isn't that 3 consecutive away performances now without a defeat? I think that might be the case. Certainly, or maybe at least 2. We've got the draw against Plymouth. We've got the draw tonight. And I think that might be 2 consecutive away performances without a defeat. And also, by the way, Sahil said this earlier. He said he didn't know how many games it was since Hull last won. But I can tell you at least the time that Hull last won a game. Hull had not won a game and still haven't won a game since October the 1st. So we are talking now 2.5 months of football since Hull City last won a game. And so that gives you an idea of what Watford were looking at tonight. Hull, I thought, were poor with their set pieces. We weren't that much better. And you can see why Hull are bottom of the table. It's not that they play poorly, it's they execute poorly and they don't have good set piece or good passing going on. So that is why I think Hull are where they are. Watford now in 7th. They started the night in 7th place. They stay there, having failed to capitalize on this opportunity. They do have a game in hand, but really games in hand really don't mean a lot because you've got to win the games in hand. Tonight, essentially, was a game in hand for us. We didn't win. So again, games in hand can look very attractive, but they don't mean anything if you can't win the ball game. And unfortunately, tonight for us, we didn't win. But again, the positive, we didn't lose. And I think what you've got to look at in these last few games is teams that are below us, we are not winning against. We didn't win against QPR, did not win against Preston at the time, did not win against Plymouth at the time, and have not won tonight against the bottom club Hull. So, that's a pattern for us, home or away, not able to pick up maximum points against teams struggling below us. QPR, for me, were in a false position a couple of weeks ago. That was the last time we played. It was 10, 11 days ago we last played a game before tonight. QPR were not really a bottom club in my mind at the start of that game. I said that. I warned about that at the time. That was going to be a tricky game. I predicted a 1-1 draw tonight. I ended up being correct. It was just too bad that the Watford did not play the kind of football that was necessary to be up and at a very vulnerable team at the bottom of the table. One comment on YouTube before we move to Instagram land. And on YouTube, that is Matt, a regular commenter on the channel. Thank you very much indeed, Matt, for your comment at WatfordFC on YouTube tonight. Matt says this: I feel like we was lucky to get a point because looking at the stats, we wasn't clinical with our shots, with having a total of 12 shots, 2 on target, and 1 big chance. Isn't good enough in the championship, says Matt. Matt, thank you very much indeed, as ever, for your comments on YouTube tonight. For those of you listening on X, please hit the subscribe button at WatfordFC on the YouTube channel. Follow and subscribe and like the videos as well. I do want to thank you, those of you on X, for coming aboard after this game tonight. Hull won, Watford won. It was the first goal we conceded in almost 3 full games. Having said that, again, the goal was really not a goal. It was a handball. Also, Watford's defending tonight I thought was very good. That was the only part of our game that I can really come away with some positives on. So Watford there in that department didn't do themselves any harm at all. And as far as everything else is concerned, well, Watford will see better days against a side like this, we hope. Watford on, of course, to the next game, which comes up this Saturday against West Bromwich Albion. Now, I think Watford will play a lot better in what will be a very important game again. I think that Tom Cleverley will be mixed, have some mixed feelings about this contest tonight. Overall, I'd have some mixed feelings as well, but this was, to me, a very predictable result. Again, I did predict that this would be the exact score before the game started, and so I got that dead on, spot on. But I just think that the way Watford play some of these games away from home, we tend to play down or up to the level of our competition. I think tonight we played down to the level of the competition here, and Hull City really, I think, with their level of competition, not quite as good, but we played down to it because we didn't show the initiative for the first hour plus of the game. And then, of course, we waited to go behind in the game before we actually woke up and showed some ideas out there. So that is where we are. Richard Lees comes in as well on YouTube and says, "Evening, Omar." Hello, Richard. Evening to you as well. Your comments, of course, always welcome, as are all the comments of a Watford Persuasion. Welcome here on the post-match, whether it be on X or on Instagram or YouTube. We're going to head now to YouTube. So for those of you on X, I do want to thank you again for listening on the Orns post-match. Watford get the point coming from behind late, so good character from the lads. Rocco Vata with his first goal in a Watford shirt, and also, as I said earlier, the first time Watford have not lost this season in a shirt that was not yellow. Previous to this game, we'd lost every game we'd played in a shirt that was not yellow. We lost the games, of course, against Norwich and Swansea. We played in our black kits in those games, and we lost the games, of course, as you remember, against the likes of Sheffield United, among others, when we played in our purple kit. So look, we lost Norwich, Swansea, Luton, all in our black kit. And we then, as I said, lost to Sheffield United in our purple kit. We may have lost another game in our purple kit as well, but we certainly didn't lose tonight in our purple kit. The first time this season we picked up at least a point when playing in a kit that was not yellow. I want to thank you on X, and we're going to go to Instagram next. We will continue on YouTube at WatfordFC on the YouTube channel there. But again, as Richard Lees on YouTube says, should play Vata, more great talent. Yep, he really is a great talent, Richard. Thank you for that. I totally agree with you 100%. Rocco has been terrific, and I think Cleves needs to bring him on the pitch, as he did tonight around 63rd minute. And he brought on also the assist maker, Quadro Bar, and he was clearly a notable difference as well in the game. Thank you very much indeed for that comment. We'll continue on YouTube. Those of you on X, I want to thank you very much indeed for listening. Thank you for contributing. Thank you for listening. And thank you for your continued loyalty to listening to the Orns Watford FC post-match here. My name is Omar, and I'll see you again on Saturday as well. On to Instagram at WatfordFC there. Please follow there as well. We will be going there next. As it is, we'll continue on YouTube right now. Thank you very much indeed for those of you in X. And until Saturday, Omar here saying, take care, those of you on X, and we will see you on Instagram and this Saturday against West Brom. That is all for us on X, but we continue here on YouTube. We will be right along on Instagram momentarily. I know Instagram had a few problems today, but we're hoping to see Instagram not have any problems, of course, at the minute now, as we continue on here on YouTube and now live on Instagram. Thank you so very much indeed for joining us on Instagram as well. And so we go live. Thank you indeed for those of you watching on YouTube. And thanks to those of you now watching on Instagram for Orns Extra on Instagram Live. Yours truly, Omar, here after Hull City 1, Watford 1. I would love to read out your comments on both YouTube and on Instagram today. It's been a difficult game for Watford. I think Watford made it difficult for themselves, unfortunately. Made a dog's dinner of this game in some respects. And look, got the point out of it. I predicted the 1-1 scoreline before the game started. This is the kind of game that does trip Watford up. And as one commenter alluded to on X earlier on in the post-match there, Watford always seem to trip up against teams like this. And there was a new manager bounce of sorts for the home side. It always seems to happen against Watford in a midweek game, especially away from home. And Hull City, you know, look, they should not have ever scored there. That was not a goal, came off the hand. And so poetic justice, I think, perhaps, that Watford get the equalizer. Rocco Vata getting the goal for Watford after the assist from Quadro Bar in this contest tonight. Now, on YouTube, I'm going to read out your comments, and Matt has added a comment for us. Thank you again, Matt, a regular contributor on the Orns WFC YouTube channel. Feel like Vata and Bar should start more often. They both have the pace, says Matt, to take on players. Plus, most of our goals this season have come from Bar running down the wings, taking on the defenders. Yep. As you've said, Matt, tonight, that has been the case. A lot of these goals that Watford have scored have come from the play of Barr running down that right-hand side, cutting the ball in, and finding a Watford player to put the ball in the back of the net from close quarters. That happened again tonight. It happened at Leeds as well. If I'm not mistaken, we lost that game 2-1, but it was Barr who I think was the spearhead for that goal. We've seen it many times for the Vic this season. When Watford have scored, it's usually down to the ingenuity and vision of Kwadwo Barr. And he's done it again, coming off the bench, providing that big spark. And Vata has also been a very important player. I would love to see him come on earlier than the 63rd minute. Have him come on to start the second half of the game. You know, I understand that the manager's going to want to see how things play out for the first 10, 15 minutes of the second half. But the bottom line is that we need to shake things up a lot more. Vata should probably get some starts here, particularly when you consider there's a game on Saturday. I'd like to see him start the game. Tom Ince, I almost said Paul. Tom Ince in the game tonight, not really a factor. I would have loved to have seen Vata come in early, but, you know, maybe he'll get his chance Saturday. Maybe we'll get that reward for scoring the all-important goal tonight, coming in the 87th minute or so, about, 4 or 5 minutes or so after Hull City had scored to put themselves in front. Good character shown by Watford in getting that equalizer late. And so, Matt, thank you for your comment, as always. And so, Hull won, Watford won the final score in this one. What was your perspective about the game at large? Whether you're on Instagram or on YouTube, want to hear more from you. We've heard from Richard and from Matt on YouTube. We'd love to hear from you as well if you're watching this live right now. As far as your feedback on Watford tonight, I'm not seeing any comments at the moment come through on on Instagram. So I know that there's been some issues with Instagram today. So I'd love to find out if there is any comments that we can actually get. Nothing coming up on the feed at the moment on Instagram at Orns WFC. Hoping that changes. But we do have comments coming in on YouTube. Please continue to keep those comments coming. Philip Mason says the following on YouTube: terrible game to watch, but Hull was slightly better than us, says Philip, under their new manager bounce effect. Vata has been chronically underused, says Philip, and Barr could also play alongside Bio up top. Philip, thank you for the comments. Really appreciate them, and I agree with you. I would like to see Barr play up top. I think play up top in a 4-4-2 formation, something like that, or a 3-5-2, perhaps, if that is possible. I don't know that Clevs would want to go 3-5-2, but I do think that it would give us a chance to have something a bit more of a tightness in that midfield, a cohesion and adhesion in that midfield that I think we miss. We could have a couple of those in the 5 go a little bit forward, feed the ball to that partnership of Barr and Bio. I think that they would be a little bit more dynamic with the two of them in that position, because I think oftentimes, despite the fact that he leads the team in scoring, Bio can cut a very isolated figure. He does do the run. I thought that he didn't run as much as he could have tonight. But I absolutely think that that's a good idea, Philip, to have 2 up top. I don't know that Clevs is going to play that, quite frankly, but it's definitely something I would go along with, Philip. So thank you for that. And I do agree. I think that Vata has been chronically underused. I know the feeling, though, from the other side of this, to be devil's advocate, I think, Philip, that that Clevs wants to develop Vata more slowly. He's alluded to this with Barr as well, to kind of move him along slowly. But I'm from a school, Philip, that says put these youngsters in there, put them in, especially when the game ain't going well. Put these lads in. They got to cut their teeth somewhere. Experience is the best teacher. Philip, I'm with you. I think that they've got to put these lads in, trial by fire. How are you going to get any experience if you don't play these lads? And if you don't play them often enough, how are they going to get into the routine and the rhythm of getting ready for a game and playing a game? You can't be bashful. This is your season here. You know, if it wasn't for Vata tonight, we dropped 3 points. If it wasn't for Bar tonight, we dropped 3 points. Both of them made an impact on the game. Both of them were subs. I think they both came on together tonight. And no surprise, look what happened. They both linked up and scored the goal there. And so, look, for me, Watford tonight got the point. You got to get out of it and move on. Yeah, they played poorly, played like they waited for something to happen. We were waiting to be had. We played not to lose. I think we were very, very pedestrian in our play. We didn't play expansively enough tonight. We were very narrow. And I think the midfield and the whole setup have a lot to do with that. But I do agree with you. Chronically underused is Vata. There's no question. Let's see if Clevs changes that, Philip, on Saturday. Thank you for the comment again, Philip. Lewis. Hello, Lewis. Of course, you're normally on Instagram, but it's nice to see you here on Orns WFC on YouTube. Lewis says the following: we was lucky to get the point. I agree. I think there was a degree of fortune tonight for us, Lewis. When you consider the fact that Hull were not very good, Hull had a couple more opportunities perhaps than we did, and they showed a bit more forward-thinking endeavor than we did. And they showed a bit more imagination at times than we did. But the thing for Hull is they were poor with their final finish in their final third, and they definitely were poor on their set pieces and their passes. So, you know, again, in some ways, the game was probably a fair accounting of what happened, although what was not fair was that handball. That was clearly a hand of God goal. No question about it. The referee somehow didn't look at it, didn't see it. And if there was VAR, you would hope, in quotes, you would hope that the VAR folks would train their eyeballs on what we all saw, which was a handball. And look, Hull got away with it. Hull got away with it. But the bottom line is, when you're going well, and Watford are going well despite the last couple of results, we get the break and we get the goal. You know, we got the goal. We made that goal all by ourselves. There was no, listen, we ended up getting the goal. We were fortunate. I agree with you, Lewis. I think somewhat fortunate to get a point out of this game. I predicted before the game, by the way, that it would finish Hull 1, Watford 1. And so it did. You know, I was right about that. But when you look at the balance of this game, I think we were lucky tonight to get something out of the game, because I don't think we deserved to. But when you consider the fact that that so-called goal that Hull scored came off of their hand, you know, a fair result in the end, I think. But that's the way it goes, Lewis. Thank you for the comment there, as always, Lewis. For some reason, on Instagram, we're not getting anything going there. So I do want to say thank you for the comments on YouTube. We'll continue for another 5 or 10 minutes on YouTube with your comments. Got to start Bar, says Lewis, and Vata on Sunday at home to West Brom. Is that a Sunday game? I thought that was Saturday, but perhaps it's not. Someone can confirm that for me. I, at this moment, not in the position to do that immediately. So somebody can please confirm that. Lewis, you may well be right. I'm not saying you're not right. Just want to have some confirmation of that. At home to West Brom. Is that Sunday or is it Saturday? The 15th it is, which would tell me that that's probably this Saturday. But anyway, we will see about that. Thank you very much indeed for your comments again, Lewis, as always. Richard says this, Richard Lee's on YouTube. Backman made some good saves, kept us in the game. Thank you for saying that, Richard, because I've not pointed that out yet. Backman was important to this game. I thought that he was as important as Porteous was to the game tonight. Thought Porteous defended very well, very useful, got the job done, even though we conceded the goal. But very good defending from him, good positional awareness. He blocked a couple of shots tonight, cleared a very key ball that was loose in our box. I thought as a team we defended very well tonight as well. But Batman also made some very good saves here. He went big, went large, made some good blocks, point-blank saves. So I'm with you there as well, Richard. Really good stuff from Batman in both halves of this game. Hull should have scored in that first half, I think it was. And somehow, I don't know how he didn't put it past Batman, but he didn't. That might have been in the second half, actually. Don't quite remember. But Batman made some very key saves in this game. Thank you, Richard, for your comment there. Lewis says, yeah, Batman made some good saves, but again, was being a bit too big-headed when he had the ball at his feet. That was what Lewis had to say. Yeah, there were moments, Lewis, and you're quite right to say this. There were moments where I think Batman was very lackadaisical with the ball. I mean, just very lax. And I don't know. I don't want to make excuses for him. 10 days between games. I mean, I think the whole side were very lax in the first half. Very lackadaisical. So I don't know. But yeah, the bottom line is that Batman's got to be a bit more incisive in those moments when you're trying to clear the ball. And I know that everybody plays out from the back these days. But you've got to be judicious about how you're playing out from the back. And another day we could have got caught there, Lewis, and we would be having a very different post-match conversation about Daniel Batman. But he did make some very key saves tonight, and that's what I'm going to certainly hold on to much more than I think the lackadaisical play at times from Mr. B. Spark says this. Hello, Spark. Good to see you on YouTube. We should have won tonight. No question about it. We should have a Spark. I think before the game, I would have said that. I predicted, by the way, before the game, I predicted it would be a 1-1 finish. So I was correct on that. But I will go along with you, Spark. Prior to the start of this game, we should have won this game. We have had a number of occasions this season where against these teams below us in the bottom 4 or 5, we have not picked up 3 points. We didn't pick up 3 points against Preston. They were in the bottom 3 at the time we played them, if not the bottom of the table. We lost 3-0 to them midweek in that game weeks ago. We did not pick up 3 points against the likes of Luton. We didn't pick up 3 points against the likes of Plymouth. We didn't pick up 3 points against the likes of Queen's Park Rangers. And tonight we didn't pick up 3 points against the likes of bottom of the lot, Hull. So, look, we have had our struggles against these teams that we are supposed to beat. And we've had a real dog's dinner of it, haven't we, in these games? We've not played well in these games, not performed well in them. And so, these kinds of games can be very tricky, to be fair. We've played nearly half the season now. That was our 19th game of the season we've played. And so we're almost at the halfway point of the season now. And so I think if you can go this far and pick up, 31 points, 31, 32 points, pretty blooming good. I mean, we are going to be in and around the playoff places. We're right outside there now. Had we won this game, we'd be back in the top 6. We do have a game in hand. The Cardiff game, of course, got postponed over the weekend, but that doesn't mean we're going to win the Cardiff game. I mean, you can have 8 games in hand, but it doesn't mean you're going to win all 8 of them. You can have 1 game in hand. Doesn't mean you're going to win that game. Doesn't mean you're going to necessarily lose it either. But we've had some of this tonight where we've shown that we lack some imagination on the pitch. We didn't close down enough, I think, well enough in a lot of the game early, but I think we defended well overall. And I just didn't think our energy levels were as strong as they should have been. It's a trap game. We hadn't played in 10 plus days. November 30th was the last time we played before tonight. So 10 days between games. I think that showed in the first half, but no excuses. I mean, Hull were much fresher, much sharper, except they weren't clinical, and that's been their downfall all season. But look, Hull have not won since October the 1st. So there we go. Matt on YouTube says, Omar confirming Watford West Brom is Sunday. Thank you. Sunday the 15th at 2 p.m. That's a 2 p.m. kickoff. Thank you, Matt, for confirming that. That is the Sunday match. So that will be at the Vic. Another one of these kickoffs that is not at 3 p.m. Watford have been very up and down in these non-3 p.m. kickoffs. So look, we didn't win the one against QPR the other day, 10 days ago. And these non-3 p.m. kickoffs, we didn't win tonight, non-3 p.m. kickoff. And so 2 p.m. at the Vic against West Brom. Yes, it will be a tough game, says Spark. Spark says Sunday v West Brom will be tough. It will. No question about it. West Brom below us in the table, I think, at the minute. Somewhere below us, I think, right below us. But Watford need to be properly switched on. I think Watford will play a lot better against West Brom than they did against either QPR or against Bristol City or against, for that matter, Hull City tonight. But you know what happened in those games I mentioned just now? We've got points in all of them. So let's keep things going. I'm beaten, I think, now in the last 5, and I'm beaten in 7 of our last 8, something like that. We just need to start picking up some wins to go along with these draws. And obviously our home form is going to be critical. And so we need to make it count on Sunday. Lewis says this on YouTube. Omar, in your opinion, where do you think we will finish this season? I'm going to continue to say, Lewis, what I said before the season began, which is 8th. I think Watford are going to end up in 8th to end the season. I said this back in July of this year, before this season even began. I said initially mid-table, somewhere between 8th and 10th is where we're going to finish. And then I settled on 8th. And I still feel that way as far as Watford are concerned. And I think the reason why we'll finish 8th, Lewis, is quite simply for results like tonight. A team that has playoff aspirations, and I know Klebs has set the bar a lot higher than some people have. But I do think, Lewis, a team that has aspirations to get into playoffs wins games like this tonight. Teams that have aspirations for playoff spots win these kinds of games tonight. Blackburn won the game against Hull just a couple of weeks ago, or a week or so ago. They won. They went to Hull at the MKM. They found a way to win at the MKM. Blackburn, where are they? They're in the top 6 now. So, that's the point. If you want to get into the playoffs, you've got to win these kind of games. You've got to win the games against the Plymouths of the world. You've got to win the games against the Prestons of the world. You've got to win the games against the QPRs of the world. And granted, I know QPR took points off of Sunderland, took points off of Burnley. Burnley have kind of been in a stuttering patch the last few games. Sunderland as well. They got a late point last night. But the bottom line, and I know they're both in the playoff positions, or at least in the playoff positions. Bottom line is, if you are a playoff type team, you got to win these kind of games. You got to win this game tonight. And Watford didn't do that. They just did not. Lewis, off he goes. Thank you, Lewis, for your comment. Gonna go, and I'll speak to you on the next live on Sunday. Thank you, Lewis. I do hope that you have a very good evening. Take care of yourself there, Lewis. Thank you very much indeed. Lewis, who normally joins us on Instagram, saying good night on YouTube. Thank you, Lewis, for your comments. Matt has chimed in on YouTube, and he says, cleverly seems to like to play a 3-4-3 formation and have the left and right midfielder push up when attacking and then move back into a back 5 when defending, but somehow we lose the formation. Yeah, Matt, I agree. We seem to lose our shape pretty easily when we're out of possession. And I think we lack the discipline to stay in that shape. I mean, other times I think we've been very organized. I think we're better organized now than we were at the start of the season. And I do think that Paul Robinson's had a lot to do with that. Our defensive shape is a bit stronger, but we do lose that formation at times. I do agree with you, Matt. We need to be a bit more disciplined about our formation and how we are staying together on the pitch when we're in and out of possession. How are we making up space? What does our shift and our formation look like out of possession? How comfortable are we to trust one another in our formation when we're out of possession, when we're in it? I think that has to do with that too. Our discipline level and how we trust each other as a team when we are in our formation and when we're out of it, out of possession and in. How, trust is really important on the pitch. And chemistry is very important on the pitch. part of chemistry is also being able to trust each other. And Watford players have the chemistry. The trust sometimes, I think, in the final third of the pitch is lacking. And I do think that's where our lack of clinical effort has come from, for the most part. Is also that we just don't have our shooting boots on enough of the time in these games, and we don't create enough chances, especially away from home. So anyway, that's where I stand with that. But that's a good point there, Matt. Thanks for the comment, and thanks for your input there, because I do think formation is a key thing in how we play to it. Can we make shifts and adjustments in the formation when we make the subs? How is our formation looking in and out of possession? How do we dictate tempo when we have a formation change? What is the mentality about our formation? And are we disciplined enough to stay in it and execute and trust what the manager's putting in front of us? So it could just also be, in addition to trusting teammates, trusting what the manager's vision is. Although I do think that these lads are on board with Clevs. I do think they trust him. They'll play for him. They'll run through brick walls for him. I wish they had done that a bit more tonight. But the bottom line there is that Clevs, he's going to play that 3-4-3 and do the things that Matt has illustrated, has talked about. But bottom line is the players have to be disciplined enough to stay in their shape. And if they can stay in their shape, it's going to be more often than not a good game for Watford. So Matt adds this comment. I'm going to say the way we're playing and not winning important games, plus not having a clinical goal scorer, I'd be happy with a top 10 finish at the end of the season, Matt says. Thank you, Matt, for that. Top 10 finish, I think, indeed would make pretty much all Watford fans very happy. I think people forget, some of us forget as Watford supporters, that there were a sizable amount of our supporters who were looking at bottom six, were looking at us struggling this season, were looking at us not getting out of the bottom three. Even some Watford fans were saying that before the start of the season, were fearing the worst after what we did at the back of last season. I can understand that people would be very anxious and very down on Watford off the back of what happened last season. Can't blame people for that. But I'm sure now a lot of Watford fans who may have said we'll be lucky to stay out of the relegation zone and we'll be lucky to stay out of the relegation scrap. I think a lot of those supporters who went there before the start of the season are singing a very different tune right this minute. And I definitely agree that the vast majority of Watford fans, Matt, would be very happy, I think happy with a top 10 finish. Even though, you might not make the playoffs if you're finishing anywhere below 6th, but if you finish in the top 10, it's a good season for you. I don't think you can be very disappointed at all about a top 10 finish for Watford, because it means that there's progression that's been made. And, I can't complain about the position. It's where we should be, I think, 7th, but I predicted before the season began that we'd finish 8th. So we're right around there now. And I predicted before the start of the game tonight that it would finish as it did. Hull City won, Watford won. So, we'll see where my predictions take me. We'll see how Watford do and whether they make me out to be some kind of genius at the end of this season. But tonight they did, because it was Hull 1, Watford 1. That's how it's finished, and that's how I predicted it before the game started tonight. And so we'll see how Watford do on Sunday. I think you're going to see a much more up and out in Watford. I think we do play up and down to the level of our competition. I think we've shown that this season, as in other seasons, we played down to the level of QPR, although I think QPR, when Watford played QPR 10 days or so ago, I think QPR were in a very false position at the bottom, or bottom but one in the table at the time. Very false position, because I think QPR are a lot better than that. And since they played that game against us, they've shown that they're outside the bottom three now. So that's QPR. But I think that generally speaking, we play up and down to the level of our competition, and we don't impose ourselves enough. We were very pedestrian tonight. I mean, I think you can take some silver linings out the game. We defended well. Porteous was a standout. I think Backman, despite some of the issues, I thought he made some big saves tonight, very important. Quado Bar off the bench was very good and very important. And obviously Vata off the bench, very good and very important. So there are some silver linings despite this draw tonight. I don't think this game, in the end of it, was nearly as frustrating in the end as the game against QPR. And I didn't think that one was particularly frustrating because I think QPR were a better side than advertised. And so, I think tonight it was frustrating for the first 60 minutes because Watford really did not lay a glove on a bottom of the table side. But I think Watford grew into the game. They enjoyed some possession. And I think in the second half, they were much more incisive with their possession, and they decided to make things count. So there we go. Kevin Shanahan, by the way, has joined us on YouTube. Kevin, thank you for your comment. Kevin says a League Cup type performance. That was Kevin's view about Watford tonight. And I think that, Kevin, you point out a League Cup type performance. Watford were awfully pedestrian tonight. So I don't disagree with you. We played as if we were in the League Cup, played as if we looked at this as a game that we could just turn up in and win, and we got to fight that. We were very lackadaisical in the game, very lackadaisical, didn't close down enough at times, didn't exercise a judicious attitude about the game, lost the discipline a bit early in the game, didn't close down the space well enough, didn't run into space enough, didn't create enough space off the ball. I thought that those kinds of things made us look very narrow in the end. And I know it probably has something to do with the way, Kevin, that Hull set up in front of us. And obviously, a new manager, he's gonna pull tricks out the bag that we perhaps didn't prepare for. But the bottom line, Kevin, is that we just did not have enough imagination and enough spark out there tonight. That's the key. And I think the only time we really had spark was once Hull took the lead. And then we had before that when we brought on the likes of Abar and Avata, who ended up linking for the goal. And we had some spark there. And obviously when we scored, but it wasn't really until Hull got the lead late in the game that we woke up. And I thought that was, we could have put this game, if we had played with any kind of intensity or any kind of urgency at all, we could have easily, hopefully, hard to forecast it now, we could have gone winning this game fairly easily. But because you can see how poor Hull are. Hull do not have the imagination, and they do not have the finishing, and they don't have the passing or the set piece ability. And quite frankly, we don't have the set piece ability either. I thought our set pieces tonight were poor. Hit the first man, didn't beat the first man. That's not getting you anywhere. So, that's really where we are now. And Kevin, I don't disagree. We were very shallow. This is absolutely the kind of performance that you would see in a Carabao Cup game. So, very poor stuff from us. But I think that we'll get better results from the game against West Brom. I really do. I think Watford will play a lot better, and I think they'll find a way to win that game against West Brom this coming Sunday at 2 p.m. That's the kickoff. And again, Matt, thank you for confirming that. I think that's going to be it now on this edition of Orns Extra on Instagram Live and on Orns Post-Match on YouTube. It's been a pleasure talking with you as fellow Watford supporters. We're all Watford supporters here talking about this result tonight. Disappointment, obviously, and frustration perhaps, but this was a fair result at the end, despite the goal that should never have counted. So we will feel a bit bitter about that because Hull City handballed that into the back of the net. So it was poetic justice, I think, that Rocco Vata got the goal just about 5 minutes later to give Watford a share of the spoils at the MKM tonight. So it did finish at the MKM. Hull won, Watford won. We'll take the point where we can. Again, we're 5 unbeaten now, I think. And we've conceded just once in the last 3 games. So the defending has been better. The positioning defensively has been better. But we just have to get other areas of the pitch right. I think we're pretty well sorted. Goalkeeper now is beginning to make a bigger impression. Dan Backman, after the calls from people like myself and others to put Bondi back in there and keep him there. I think right now Dan Backman's does what he does best. Stop shots. He stops shots. He's a shot stopper. He does that best, but he's shown some imagination more recently. Wasn't at his best overall with some of the passes. out the back. But I thought tonight he had another very solid game indeed. That's it for now. Thank you very much, every Watford supporter, for joining, watching, making comments. All of you who commented on YouTube, thank you so much. Those of you who watched and listened on YouTube, thank you very much. Those of you who watched on Instagram, and I think that we're not getting any comments from there tonight, so that's down to some of the issues that Instagram has had throughout the day. Come on, Watford, says Matt. Pick up your game at the weekend, says Matt on YouTube. Keep your heads up and stay strong. COYH. Come on, you Orns, says Matt. That is it for now. Matt has the last word, and that is the Orns Watford fan comment of the match. Coming right at the end there from Matt with his comment. Come on, Watford. Pick up your game at the weekend. Keep your heads up and stay strong. Come on, you Orns. That is the Orns Watford fan comment of the game, of the night from Matt. Thank you, Matt, for that. Thank you, everybody, for commenting on YouTube. Those of you who were on X earlier, thank you once again. And those of you who watched on Instagram, thank you very much for doing so. Obviously, we've had some problems on Instagram that are beyond our control. But Watford have it for their control this coming Sunday in an afternoon kickoff at the Vic against West Brom. Best of luck there for the Golden Boys on Sunday afternoon. That's it for now. Thank you. My name is Omar. It's been a pleasure speaking with you and having you comment here on Orns Extra and Orns Post Match on YouTube. It's a pleasure indeed. At Orns WFC, follow please on the YouTube channel there, and on Instagram at Orns WFC, and on X at Orns WFC as well. We have a podcast coming for you tomorrow at for Orns WFC. On Apple's podcasts, Orns, the Watford FC podcast there, hosted by yours truly. And we'll do a 10-minute take coming up late tonight here on YouTube as well. That's it for now. Thank you very much. Hull City 1, Watford 1, the final. That's all. And take care, everyone. And until Sunday, Omar here saying, thank you, everyone. Take care. Have a great rest of your week as well. And thank you, Matt, for your comments as well. Have a great rest of the week for you as well, Matt. Take care. See you on Sunday, everyone. Be well and be safe.